Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our NCO webinar. I'm Kath Arledge, the Artistic and Educational Director of NCO, and I'm super excited today to be joined by two amazing women who both work in sport. We're joined today by Alison Pope-Rhodius, who is a performance coach. Hi, Alison.
Hello.
And also by Claire Bennett, who is a Team GB fencer, but also now a performance coach. Hi, Claire.
Hi, everyone.
Great. So super exciting to be talking about sport and the overlap with music because there's so many similarities. Now, you know, I'm sure how to join in. Just at the bottom of the screen, I can see you all joining. We've got 80 people so far, so that's brilliant and climbing. The Q&A button is how you ask your questions that I will give to these lovely guests that we have today. And they'll also be polling so we can find out some secrets about them that nobody else knows. So it's going to be very exciting. So let's get the ball rolling. I'm going to do a little screen share and I'm going to ask, first of all, Claire, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. So I'm a former international fencer for Great Britain. I've been fencing since the age of 10 years old, and I've represented Great Britain internationally from cadet, junior, senior level at World Championships and Europeans. And I went to my first World Championships at the age of 14 years old. So it got serious really early on. I now commentate for Eurosport, and I'm a qualified performance coach, specialising in both individual and team development. You can see there I did do a little bit of coaching as well, so I'm also an athlete mentor and I help to inspire young people facing disadvantage to achieve their potential. And I also do lots of motivational talks and public speaking, and I'm currently working with musicians from South Bank Symphonia and BBC performers to help them with various key topics such like motivation and resilience, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. That's me doing a really fun session with some young people, helping them with to do some team building activities and ultimately to go into a positive outcome like education or employment. So that's a bit about me.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And we'll come back to all. There's so much to talk about. So Alison, tell us about you.
Hello, everybody. So hello from California. I am originally from England, near Liverpool, but I've now lived in California. I'm close to San Francisco, so I've been here for almost 20 years. I'm a performance coach and also I'm a professor in sports psychology, and I'm at a university called Holy Names, and it is in Oakland, California, and I'm in charge of a master's program, which also includes performance psychology. So this is me. I played tennis from a very young age, but also it was kind of cricket matched with tennis. So that's what this is, and I'm obsessed with the Olympic Games. So that's why it has the Olympics on there. I've been involved in sport for a long time. I've been in the field of sports psychology through all my educational training, and for almost 30 years, I think. That's terrible to think about, such a long amount, but it's taken me all around the world. So this is me with a couple of my students working with archery coaches and archers from Colombia, in Colombia. So that was really an amazing time. And I love being able to work with these students. So these are all doctoral students that I have taught along the way. We make t-shirts that say Team Rhodius, and so this was Olympic year as well. Yeah, it's they always make me laugh. So that's part of my inspiration, is helping other people to get the best out of themselves in terms of sporting performance and also as a student as well. And this is another one of my students. She's a gym trainer, so I was trying to show her my guns, but I have nothing compared to her.
Fantastic. I'm going to come out of the screen share now. Great. So just to kick us off, Claire, can you tell us, why did you get into fencing? Why was that part of your life from so young?
I loved the fact that it was a bit different. So I was into Pirates of the Caribbean, the Three Musketeers at the time. So that's how I got involved, because it was different. But, you know, sport's always been a major part of my life. It's shaped me in so many different ways. And you know, I wouldn't be here talking to everybody if it wasn't for sport, you know. And actually, when I think about how much sport has given me in my academic career, I wasn't very good at school. I was really struggling. I had to have extra tuition, everything. And sport allowed me to transfer like focus, work ethic, all the sort of great skills that you learn through sport into my schoolwork. And I ended up doing pretty well at school in the end. So yeah, sport is my life. I absolutely love it.
Fantastic. So Alison, how did you get into, why was sport such a big part of your life growing up?
Well, my family watched it and played it a ton, so I've always been in sport. I've always been a part of sport, but it's when I was a high school student, I was a pretty good tennis player, but I would so this is the reason how I got into sports psychology. Is I had difficulty closing matches, and so I can relate very much to people who have, you know, get nervous and how to overcome those kind of things. So that's what got me into sports psychology, and the love of sport just maintains that passion, and any kind of performance, I love it. So, you know, being around people who perform to a high level as well, I really gravitate to being able to be around those people too. So sport is a huge part of my life, and I love I listen to the BBC all the time.
Sorry, you've also had music in your life, haven't you? You grew up in quite a musical family, so you had a bit of overlap there.
Yeah, music has been a huge part of my life. So I started playing the piano around, I think it was around 3 or 4, really young. Did all the grades up to 7, and then I finished. Then I went to university, and kind of other things got in the way, so I didn't get to finish. So that's one of my little regrets, actually, that I didn't finish grade 8, but those grades still exist.
Oh yeah, there's still time.
Okay.
Still time.
Okay. So I'm not talking a foreign language.
No, yeah. So Claire, we've got a question here that's come in from Thomas Destasio, who wrote to us to say that he's a foil fencer as well. And he likes to listen to music. He's a French horn player. He likes to listen to music when he's fencing, especially the Dam Busters or the music from the Battle of Britain. So tell us, have you used music in sport?
Definitely. Music played a big part of me getting ready for competition, and even in training I used to plug my iPod in and listen to music, just to get into the zone, you know. It used to help clear my thoughts and feelings, so I could really focus on the session ahead or the competition ahead. The type of music I used to like, I like all sorts of music. Rap music, hip hop used to get me going before a big competition. I like soul music as well. But also thinking back to my fencing coach, who was a Polish coach, and he loved playing the piano. He loved classical music. And I remember every weekend when we used to train at his club, he used to play classical music. And we would do our footwork to this classical music, because fencing footwork, they often describe it as quite balletic. So I would be doing my footwork to the kind of the rhythm and the notes in that music. So I have really fond memories of training to music. It was really important to us.
Great, fantastic. So we've got a question for you, Alison, from Henry Porter. He wants to know, what's the red cap behind you?
Oh, the red cap. Thank you for asking, Henry. So this is my new university. I've only been here for 2 months, but this is Holy Names University. So I am in charge of creating a brand new master's program in applied sport and performance psychology. So we're teaching students how to work with athletes, coaches, and musicians as well. So thank you for asking. And red's my favorite color.
Brilliant. And Claire, a question for you from Flora. Did you ever want to play any other sports at the beginning, or was it always just fencing for you?
That's a great question. Yeah, I was very sporty. I was the school sports team captain, whatever it's called at school. I used to do hockey, netball, rounders. I mean, to be honest, any sport I'd like to get involved in. And I like winter sports as well. I really like skiing. But we weren't allowed to ski when we were fencing in case we got injured. So we signed a contract to say we couldn't do any dangerous sports while we were fencing for Great Britain. But I can now enjoy that, which is amazing.
Brilliant. Great. So could you summarise for us, first of all, Alison, What would you say are the three big similarities between sport and music, or working in sport and working in music?
For me, I mean, we always say performance is performance is performance. So whether you're in sport or whether you're doing it on a stage, then the similarities are you're doing the same kinds of preparation. Obviously, it looks different. If you're about to sit down to play the piano, that's quite different to going out and doing archery. But the same types of preparation in terms of what you can do mentally are very similar. So I would say the preparation, even, you know, the food that you eat, you're still performing. So I always say, don't leave anything to chance. So if there's certain types of things that you can do to help yourself be the best possible musician and the best possible performer you can be, then go ahead and do that. So yeah, preparation, food, and also I would even say sleep is really important, and I'm sure everybody loves to sleep, and so I'm giving you full permission to sleep a lot, as long as your parents say that's okay. Because it's really important to performing well. And so we think of sleep as very important for athletes, but I think it's also really important for musicians too.
Great. And Claire, what do you think the similarities are in a sort of nutshell between sport and music?
Yeah, I guess in a nutshell, it's sort of similar to what Alison said. You know, musicians play physically demanding instruments, commit to heavy rehearsal times. They have to perform under pressure. You know, if they're performing in a concert, concerts can last up to 3 hours. Performances can last a long time. Similar to athletes, they play physically demanding sports. They sometimes perform in front of large audiences in stadiums. We go through exactly the same thing at elite level. Okay, there's no hiding place in sport, and it's the same in music. You know, when you're doing a big performance, and for me, it's constantly striving for that, either that perfect recital, that perfect concert, or in sporting terms, it's that perfect race, isn't it? And what we have in common is that we're trying to get that perfect performance. So for me, that's where the overlap is. I mean, it's so similar in my eyes.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I've got a question, perhaps for you actually, Claire, from Noah, saying, I'm better at performing in front of a live audience, but obviously now we're performing quite a lot to video, or we have to record auditions and things like that. Any advice on performing for video?
Performing for video, wow, okay. That's a really good question, Noah. For me, it's been such a transition, isn't it? Having to adjust and be flexible to move into these kind of webinars and video calls. And that will put you in good stead, by the way, for in the future, because it's important to be adaptable. But I think actually in some respects, it's easier doing it in front of a video because it's just you. So you can really focus about yourself, can't you, and get into the zone and not worry about anyone else who's watching you. Or so make sure that you don't have any sort of conflicting thoughts or feelings. You're just focused on what you're doing and just really enjoy it. And if necessary, pretend that you've got an audience, you know, visualize that there's an audience in front of you.
Before we do the webinars, I always like to look at all the pictures of all the webinar selfies. So I know that there's an audience out there, because when you're speaking like this, as Noah was explaining, you're sort of speaking, it feels like you're speaking to nobody, but you're speaking to lots of people. So I think just having a visual image of who they might be, and then kind of clapping and loving it and smiling and giving you positive vibes is super helpful.
Yeah.
Great. So the first topic I'd love to talk about is preparation, mental and physical preparation, because that's something that we overlaps between sport and music. So Claire, just tell us a little bit about how you might approach preparing for a big match or a big fight.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And for me, especially in fencing, it was a skill sport. And 80%, I would say, was mental over physical. So I used to spend just as much time in the mind gym as I did in the actual physical gym. And we were just talking about visualization, and I would say that was one of my key things that I did to help me get mentally prepared. So before a major competition or world championships or something, I would spend about half an hour a day, either first thing in the morning or last thing at night before I fell asleep. I just visualize, and it might be me getting up in the morning, brushing my teeth, having my breakfast, wheeling my fencing bag into the fencing hall, to getting that last beautiful flick hit to shoulder and getting that gold medal in the finals of the World Championships. I'd visualise every tiny detail. And that kind of helped me to mentally prepare ahead of a big performance. and it helped control my nerves because I had already replayed it in my mind. So it felt like I'd done it already, and I was ready to go once I got to the venue. It just gave me more control and more confidence over my performance.
Great. And what would you say, Alison, about mental preparation?
Yeah, I mean, I think Claire has nailed it because, like I said before, don't leave anything to chance, because there are certain things that are totally outside of your control. So once you're getting onto the stage, you just need to go and enjoy the performance, but it's everything leading up to then that you do have control over. So your preparation is really important. So some of the things that Claire said in terms of she would imagine herself going through each of the little pieces that she would do as she would do leading to an event. But when she actually goes to do those things too, I'm going to guess that Claire probably had things laid out. She knew what she was going to eat on the morning of a competition. She knew where things were, and she may have even recce'd the place where she was going to be performing, or she would know it well. She would have looked at the traffic ahead of time, or if she was on a coach, she would know who would be on the coach. Little tiny details like that. One is exactly what Claire said. It makes you feel better because it's familiar, but also, you know, we know that going through it in your mind ahead of time, it gives you confidence, and is almost like this muscle memory, if you like, that people, you're laying down tracks in your brain, you're laying down neural pathways, and by thinking it through, it's as if you have done it to some extent. Obviously, your body knows that you're not actually doing it, but it's like extra practice. So that's one of the big things that we can do in this shelter in place lockdown time as well, even more so. So this is a perfect time to be more focused on your mental preparation, because you're not able to do the same kinds of physical prep because you're not going to, you know, the orchestras or the competitions, or you're not physically going there.
I think as musicians, we're quite often guilty of thinking that the performance starts the minute you play your first note, rather than in everything that goes before it. You know, even if it's just in the half an hour before, that's still part of the journey, isn't it? That actually sets you up to deliver the best that you can.
Yeah, the night before, you know, some people even, and Claire can probably attest to this, you know, even the week before, and you've got so much laid out, because there are certain things that, you know, okay, these are my goals, these are when I'm going to be performing, these are the things that I need to do, these are the people that I need to contact. You know, there's lots of logistics, and if you can get some help with those kind of logistics too, then that can be helpful, and you can just do your thing when you're on the stage.
Great, so we've got our first poll, and I can see you're all voting. Tell us, what is the average length of an athlete's career, do we think? 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, or 14 years? And we'll find out from Claire what the result of that is when you've all voted. It's ticking up brilliantly. Great, so the next topic is building on success, because Claire, you must have had some real triumphs in your sporting life. How do you learn from doing something, you know, having a real victory?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess one of the most special victories for me was captaining the England team to a gold medal at the Commonwealth Fencing Games. It was the most special moment where everything on the day came together. I'm sure you get that in your when you do your music, and you just really get into the zone and enjoy every second of it, and everying seemed easy. You know,
you're just giving me goosebumps talking about it. I'm feeling it for you.
Yeah, oh, good. But it was definitely a highlight in my sporting career. And I guess how I kind of built from that success was lots of things I did actually. So I would, even if I won, after we won the competition, the next day I sat down in a cafe and I wrote down exactly how I won it, and I also analysed every single match that I did, and that way I could go back next time I had a competition. I was going to be fencing the same opponent the next competition. I knew how I beat that opponent, so I could do it again. So it was always learning, even if I did really well. And for me, building a success is always just reflecting on your strong experiences. So keep a positive mindset by thinking back at a time where you played really, really well. You're really proud of your performance. Ask yourself, what went well, you know? And what might you do differently next time to make it even better performing than the last time? So those are the sort of nice little questions that I used to ask myself, just so I could get that little bit better and enhance my performance, because at elite level there's not much in it at the top, and you have to be, you know, I guess you have to make sure that all your thoughts in your head are positive, and you're kind of coaching yourself into it and making sure you get the best out of yourself.
Great, thank you. So the poll is in. It looks like 38% think 8 years, 25, 10, 29, 12, and 8% 14. So do you want to tell us what the answer is?
Well, I have to say, none of those relate to my career, because I spent 17 years fencing for Great Britain, because I started quite young at 14 years old, and at 10 years old, and I did my first Worlds at 14. So, you know, but what I would say is that fencing, or a sportswoman, or a sportsman's career, is much shorter than a musician's career, and we do have to go through that transition. You know, when I stopped sport, I lost my identity. I was known as the fencer at school and all my life. You know, I lost my passion just in that instant of stopping fencing, and I found that difficult, because I was no longer an expert at something. You know, what can you do with fencing apart from I do the, you know, some coaching and some commentating? But aside from that, I found it quite hard to transition. I guess that's kind of the main difference with sport and music, is that somehow you're able to play, you know, a lot longer, whereas our careers are a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Oh, we've got another poll for Alison. Alison's secrets. Alison has an obsession for one particular type of animal. Okay. Now there could be a clue if you look neatly at her where she's sitting before you all rush to vote. Have a little look, and you might find a little. Oh yeah, you can see it's now changing. I think you've spotted it. People are voting differently, so it looks like they're still voting. So we'll come back to it. So the other side of success is obviously disappointment. Alison, are there ways that you can, you know, if somebody comes off after a performance, whether it's sporting or whether it's musical, and they didn't give of their best, how do you bounce back?
I think one of the most important things is to realize disappointment is normal. So the highs of a good performance, the lows of a not as good performance, everything that you experience is normal, and you're not unusual. Because I think sometimes people go, whoa, is this just happening to me? Like, no, it happens to everybody. So it's okay to feel whatever you feel, and feel it. And if you can tell somebody else, that's really cool, because, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved. It kind of works that way in psychology too. So if you can tell somebody else how you feel, you'll feel a little bit better about that. So that's really important. And going off what Claire was saying about reflecting after a performance, I think you do the same with it, whether you've done really well or whether you've done a little bit disappointing to you. One is, make sure your expectations are realistic. Make sure your goals are where they need to be. Talk to your teacher, talk to your mentors. Make sure that you are not striving for something that is so far away at the moment that it's just impossible. But the other thing is, I've got three little words that people in our field like to use, and it goes off exactly what Claire was saying, is, if after a performance you say, okay, what went well, what could you have done better, and what did you learn? So well, better, learned, it forces you to say something that you did do well. So even after a disappointment, I bet you any money you did something really well. What could you have done better, and what did you learn about yourself in that process? So well, better, learned really helps after any performance, and actually I would say after each day when you train and practice. I think it's really useful to get into that habit.
Brilliant. I love that. Well, better learned. I think I'm going to use that. Yeah. Great. So the results are in of the poll. So 52% think giraffe, Alison. Is that right?
Possibly, yes. So this is the very first giraffe I ever had. So she sits on a shelf, and then after that it became a much bigger thing. So I have a few more giraffes down here and a bookshelf doodah here. So yeah, I have a few giraffes.
Any more?
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow.
that is amazing.
Yeah, just a few. Not many. Like, I don't think it's that many. It's a healthy, normal thing to have a.
What do you think you've got, Alison?
Well, the funny thing is when people come to our house, so we live a long way away from England, and a ton of our friends and all our families back in England. So when the people come over, you know, they stay for a couple of weeks and they have to do what we call the giraffe census. And so they have to go around the whole house and count the number of giraffes that they can see. And it changes all the time because, you know, we move things around. So the last count, I think, was 186.
Wow, that's amazing.
But it changes because then I put things in a cupboard and like, no, I don't want that giraffe out right now. So yeah, it's a few, and most of them have been gifts. So I'm very grateful.
Amazing. So tell us, Claire, about disappointment in your career. Did you ever have any big disappointments, and how did you cope?
Yeah, I did, and my biggest disappointment by far was just missing out on the home Olympic Games in London in 2012. It was very difficult, you know, when you dedicate 17 years of your life to trying to get to the Olympic Games, and I didn't quite make it. You know, it was difficult. But what helped me to move on was that I told myself that at all times I gave it 100%. And I left nothing in the tank. And what that meant was that actually gave me freedom to move on in my life beyond sport, because I knew I had no regrets. I'd given it everything that I had, you know. I trained to the exclusion of my friends, family, social life, and I knew that was the best I could have done. And for me, that helped me to move on. And yeah, so no regrets. And I guess I saw the Olympics as an opportunity for growth, you know. After a little while, I gained perspective, and I was able to see it as something that made me a stronger, tougher, and better performing person. And now that's how, whenever I get any sort of disappointment, I'm not, obviously, I kind of welcome it, you know. I say yes, because this is how I'm going to learn to be even better than what I was. So yeah, now I'm actually even more happier and more fulfilled than I was when I was fencing in my life after sport. So it's interesting how you can turn a negative from not making the Olympic Games into a positive.
Yeah, great. So we've got a question here from Karen, who's asking, how should I manage my commitments to music and sport? Which is a great question. I swim and I play music, but sometimes it's hard to commit to both on the same day. I think that's because they feed each other as well, I think. So it's hard when you're growing up and you both, quite often it comes to a point where you have to kind of abandon one, which is really sad, I think. Alison, any tips on that, combining the two?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we know in sport, it's not good to specialize too early, because as you go through from 10 and on even, you're still learning, your body's still learning how to move. And so gravitate to the one that you love the most, and the one that you will think that your passion will take you further on any given day. Yeah, maybe you can't swim in a competition and do something amazing with your orchestra, but maybe there's a way that, say your instrument that you're playing becomes much more important to me. That's your passion, you absolutely love it, and you've got a good support system around there, but you still love swimming. Well, can you do swimming as a hobby? Because being fit is going to make you a better player. So if you can do both and see that as part of your physical preparation, it'll also help you relax. So doing exercise and doing sport can go hand in hand. Yeah, does it have the same weight? Maybe not. And you don't have to necessarily make those decisions yet. I wouldn't say abandon one, but it's okay for them to have different weightings during any particular day or a week. But think about sport as a lifelong pursuit that you need in your life to be healthy anyway. So, and it'll make you a better player too.
Fantastic answer. Great. We've got a question from Mary about performance anxiety. Claire, did you ever get nervous before big fights or any big appearances?
All the time, all the time. It was one of my biggest things, and you know, it was always an issue throughout my fencing career. I used to suffer from performance anxiety. I put too much pressure on myself to obtain medal success, you know, I guess that's one thing I regret about my fencing career is that I didn't enjoy the journey enough. Okay, and that's why I've set up a business called Perform Be Happy, because for me it's about enjoying what you do and trying to kind of just be free when you play and enjoy the moment. And so what helped me with my nerves and at the time was doing lots of breathing techniques, and there's quite a good one where you just take your hand like this and you take your index finger on your other hand and you literally just breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and you just trace your hand doing in and out breathing techniques until you get to the end of your hands, and you should feel a little bit more relaxed and less kind of anxious about it. And you can just do the second hand as well if you want to do more. So breathing techniques really help me, and also positive thoughts, so challenging those negative thoughts. If you're nervous, you know, rather than thinking I can't do this, I'm not good enough for this, or challenge that inner critic and say to yourself, I can do this, I know I'm good at this, and who says I'm not good at this? You know, question that, because more often than not it's never right, and of course you're ready and you can absolutely do it. And you wouldn't be you know, on this webinar now playing the instrument that you do now if you weren't good enough.
Great, fantastic. Right, I'm going to show you some of our kids now. This is, let's see what you've all been up to from the webinar last week. Last week we had these two composers, Anna Meredith and Sam Thompson, who were with us, and we had a lot of fun with them. And here are some lovely pictures of all of you guys, what you've been up to, sending us in your webinar selfies. It's so great. Two from you, that was brilliant. It's so great to see you all. It's just such a joy for us. I know I say it every week, but I do genuinely love seeing what you're up to, and just to know, like somebody was saying earlier, like that you're actually out there and you're actually watching and actually practicing and actually thinking about music and thinking about NCO. It's great. Now, a little treat I have for you all is these guys have pets, which is quite exciting. And I know we often get questions about pets, so I just threw in a few pictures. Now these are Alison's cat. So who's that, Alison?
That is Bodhi, and I think I actually can get a real life Bodhi. Can I go and get her? She's right here.
And she's with a giraffe.
She's absolutely with a giraffe.
So that was Bodhi when she was a baby, and now she's 1. And so she's named after Queen Boudica, because she's a little redhead and feisty, and she takes no prisoners, and she carries that giraffe around with her, and then she says, hello, here's my giraffe. So she absolutely loves it. So here she is, Queen Boudica.
They are kittens.
And that's her brother. His name is Murray Mint.
Great. And there's the little ones again. And who's the big cat?
The big one is called Leo the lion, and he's enormous. He's 16 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then this one?
And that's Impy Trifle. She's the oldest. She's going to be 15 soon.
Wow. So that's quite a house full of cats, I'd say.
A house full of cats, yeah. I never thought I'd be a cat lady, but here I am.
Yeah. And Claire, your puppy or somebody else's puppy, or
tell us about this dog? Sunny the dog, Sunny like the sun. And this isn't my dog. I bought this dog. Parents, close your ears now because you're not going to like me for saying this, but I bought this as a surprise present for my dad's 60th birthday. So he had no idea it was coming. We've never had a family dog before, and he got really mad at me at the beginning. And I got in trouble at the beginning, but now they are complete best friends. My dad wouldn't know what to do about him and vice versa. He's the most beautiful dog. Although I say that he's a cheeky dog, he likes to get, you know, golden retrievers, they like to get very smelly and wet and muddy. So he brings our family a lot of joy. So in the end, it was a good story, but don't go and buy your parents surprise pets because you can get in trouble.
Brilliant. Great. So the final question I just wanted to ask you in terms of topics is the team and the individual, Alison. There's in orchestras, obviously, we have to play together, very much, but we also play as soloists sometimes and have solo lines, and you're only as good as your teammates, like in a football match, or so how, Alison, tell us a little bit about the team and the individual. How does that work in sport?
I think regardless of whether you do an individual sport, so I've worked a ton in archery at lots of different levels, and you think that that's an individual sport, but there is a team component, but mostly it's just you on the line. But the difference is that if you didn't have a team behind you, backing you up, supporting you, your coaches, your parents, your teachers, there's so many people that are a really important part to play in your support team. And we know that the most resilient people are the ones who are challenged but have a high level of support. So it's really important to reach out to your support team and also be kind to each other, because that'll come back and be a good thing for you too. So always be kind to yourself and be kind to other people, because then they'll be kind to you as well.
Fantastic. Oh, another poll. This is a secret about Claire. She once auditioned to be on Britain's Got Talent, to be a Blue Peter presenter, to be on The Voice, to be on Gogglebox, or to be on Total Wipeout. So let's see what is going to be true about that. We've got a question from Celso, Alison, who wants to know, what would you eat before a big performance?
This is questions for me. What would I?
Yeah, what would you eat before you were going to play a big match or something?
Well, depending on the heat of the day. So I live in California, it's very hot. I would make sure that I'm hydrated. So it's not just what I eat, but also, making sure you've got your bananas, you've got your, you've had your protein earlier, but the carbohydrates are obviously big, but not the terribly sugary things. So I would say for me, a banana would be very important, or a muesli bar, or as we say here, granola bar. I don't know if you use that word. and lots of water and Gatorade and all those good things, because hydration can really affect your performance.
Great. So it looks like the results of the poll are in. So here they are. It says most people thought you auditioned for Total Wipeout. So do you want to tell us what the answer is, Claire?
That would have been really fun to do Total Wipeout, but no, I auditioned to be a Blue Peter presenter. And I sent in a video, and I even got guns. I had pink guns all over me, just so I could try and be that Blue Peter presenter. Sadly, I didn't quite make it, but it was a lot of fun making the video.
Brilliant, great. So Claire, for you, Maya wants to know, what's your favourite instrument, and what would you like to play if you played an instrument?
So I love the classical guitar. I did a little bit at school, actually. I love the sound of the classical guitar, but I always really wanted to play the clarinet for some reason. But at school, I used to wear braces on my teeth, and they told me I couldn't do it because I wouldn't be able to blow properly. Is that true? Or I don't know.
That you can't play what? Sorry, the
clarinet.
I think it's tricky to play wind and brass when you've got braces on. I think.
Okay. I probably wanted to play. I think I'd probably like to play clarinet. I'd love to have a go. So, that's probably the instrument I'd love to do.
Great, brilliant. Right, let's see. Oh, there's another poll. Alison. When Alison was growing up, she wanted to be a cricketer, a tennis player, an opera singer, a Formula One driver, or a vet. Or all of the above. So we'll find out what people think. Okay, what advice, this is from Leah, what advice would you give someone who's just about to go on stage to give a performance? Alison, what would you say?
I would say,
right before.
Yeah, and I've been in situations like that where I've been working with performers and they're about to go on. We've already worked on stuff beforehand. So one thing to remember is don't suddenly start thinking, whoa, what do I do for my mental preparation now, not having prepared. So mental training is really important. So do that ahead of time. So assuming you've done some things ahead of time, I would say remind yourself, what is the one thing that you can control? And it's yourself. And it kind of goes back to what Claire was saying, is your breathing in slowly, breathing out slowly. There's lots of different ways to try it. I love Claire's hand technique. So what that does is bring you back into the present moment. And I have another little acronym for you. So it's called WIN, and it is what is important now. So if you do that before you go onto the stage, what is important now, W-I-N, WIN, that will help focus you on just one thing, and then you're ready to go.
Fantastic.
I love that, Alison. I've never heard of that. I'm definitely going to use that moving
Oh
forward.
yeah, well, I'm stealing your hand, so you can have the WIN.
Great. So it looks like most people think you wanted to be a tennis player or a vet, Alison. What's the answer to that?
Definitely a tennis player, yeah. So
Yeah.
I love tennis, and I wanted to win Wimbledon. I still do, but you know, it might not happen.
Great. Okay, we've got a question for you, Claire, from Anna. Oh, by the way, get ready for your webinar selfies because we're running out of time fast. We've only got 5 more minutes. So anybody who wants to go and get something ready for the webinar selfie, do that now. But one last question from Anna Wibley for you, Claire. How many hours did you train every day when you were kind of at the peak of your career?
Really good question. Thank you, Anna. I used to train 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. So I'd start off the day with a fencing lesson, then I'd do some sparring with my teammates, then I would do some ballistic strength with my legs, of jumping and bounding, because you have to be really explosive with fencing, and then I'd go to the gym, and then are you feeling tired just listening to me? And then I'd go to the track and we'd do some sprint work. So it was a long day. It was a full-time job basically.
Wow.
Now,
So
Claire, the interesting thing is that you talked about it didn't all involve fencing. Like you did other things in order to help you be the best fencer. And I think it's the same with musicians too, because I know for sure that somebody called Cass Arledge runs a lot. So she keeps very fit because one, she knows she needs it for health, but also it makes her a better musician and it helps her deal with her own stuff too. So she's a model for being fit and being a top musician. So well done.
Oh, I'm honored.
Right. It's official.
Sorry?
It's official. I'll write you a doctor's note and say it's official.
Great, fantastic. Okay, so we've got a really good question I'm going to leave till after the selfie. So do you want to get, what are you going to use for your selfie? Oh, excellent. I've got my Team GB hat.
Great fencing mask. I'm going to put
fantastic.
And I've got my sword as well.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I don't have a sword.
Feeling a bit shortchanged. Can you see my Team GB thing? Great. Okay, I'll count us down. So we'll go and do funny pose or something. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Brilliant. Hopefully we'll have some nice selfies from that. Great. So we only have 2 minutes left. I can't believe how that time has gone so fast. But a really great question to finish off with from Isla. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Oh, that's quite a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, that is hard. Alison, do you want to go or shall I go?
You know, honestly, I think it's from somebody that I considered a mentor, and it was just breathe. And it's so simple, and I say it to other people, but it really just brings you back to now, and it's so helpful. And so when I'm worried about something, I go, okay, just breathe. And it's the one thing that you can do that really helps. And I truly found that useful, and then I've paid it forward. I passed that on to other people.
What about you, Claire? Any?
You know what? Funny enough, Alison, my advice came from my mentor as well. So mentors are really, really important, I think.
Tell us a little bit about mentors, because they feature in your life, don't they, Claire?
Yeah. I mean, I've always had mentors throughout my fencing career, and I found it really, really important, and they made me a better performing person. And also, I'm now a mentor myself, so I mentor young people facing disadvantage.
So in music, this kind of mentor thing doesn't exist well enough, really, I don't think, and it would be something great if we could get it working better. But tell us a little bit about how it works. So it's somebody that's a little bit older than you, a little bit further on than you, that kind of role models, or how does it work?
Yeah, for me in my sporting career, yeah, it was always someone a bit older than me, who had a bit more experience than me, who was able to kind of guide me, and someone I could bounce ideas off as well. That was really important. And I guess I'm now the older person mentoring these young people, and I just help support them to understand that what skills are transferable, to help them understand that they have so much potential, and they can be really, really successful. So a mentor is really, really important. But I must get onto this piece of advice that my mentor said as well, that he said to me, you're only as good as the people you put around you. So you want to make sure that your support team around you are going to lift you up and bring out the best in you. And for me, it's really important to have a support team. So that could be family, friends, your mentor. Make sure you've got people around you who are gonna lift you up when you need it the most.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you. We're sadly out of time, and it's flown by so fast, but thank you, both of you, so much for all your advice and your wisdom and your experience, really, for sharing that with us. And I know that I've taken a lot from it, and I'm sure many of our children listening would have taken a huge amount away from it. So I hope we can maybe see you again sometime for episode 2 of What We Can Learn from Athletes. That would be fantastic.
Sorry, I couldn't find Seal in your music.
Sorry. I think I set Siri off there by shouting too loud. Great.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.